Hello students, welcome back once again to your online English classes. Once again I'm here to teach you all, and today I will be teaching you from your main book, that is Beehive, and today we will be doing the poetry that is A Legend of the Northland. Students, first and foremost I would like to tell you about the poetess who has written this poetry. Her name is Phoebe Carey. She was an American poetess and the younger sister of poetess Alice Carey. Okay, she was born on 4th September 1824 at Mount Healthy, Ohio in United States, and she died on 31st July 1871 at Newport, Rhode Island in United States. Students, the sisters co-published poems in 1849 and then each went on to publish volumes of their own, and after their deaths in 1871, joint anthologies of the sisters' unpublished poems were also compiled. That's all about her. Let me give you the introduction to the poem. Here is an introduction. Please listen to me very carefully. A Legend of the Northland is a ballad. Okay, it's a ballad. And what is ballad, students? Let me tell you what is a ballad. Ballad is actually a poem that is narrating a story in short stanzas. Okay, it's a poem that is narrating a story in short stanzas, and ballad is such kind of poem which tells a story in short stanzas, and in the poem all the stanzas comprise 4 lines. Alright, in total there are 16 stanzas in this poem, and these stanzas will tell us a story. And ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next generation. So basically students, I'll be teaching you about this only, that folk culture is actually a story of any area and is known as ballad. And your folk culture comprises of traditional stories which are passed on from one generation to the next generation. This thing you should keep in your mind. And this story is of the Northland area, and the area which is near the North Pole. Okay, this exact place is not specified, but Northland means the area in the northernmost part of the earth. Yes, that is near the North Pole. Okay, and students, you must be thinking legend. What is legend? So let me tell you. Legend means a historical story. Okay, one which is very old and has been passed on from one generation to next generation. So this was the introduction to the lesson, and for your better understanding, students, I'll be telling you the summary of this whole poetry. So here we go. Students, this poem is a legend about an old lady who angered Saint Peter, right, because of her greed. She was a very greedy woman. The story goes on like this: and one day Saint Peter was preaching around the world and reached the door of a cottage where this woman lived, and she was making cakes, okay, and baking them on a hearth. And Saint Peter was fainting with hunger. He was very, very hungry. He was starving. And he asked the lady to give him a piece of cake. Alright. And the cake that she was baking then appeared to be too big to her. So she did not give him that. And instead she baked another smaller one. That also appeared to be big. So she did not give him that also. The second time she baked yet another smaller cake, but found it too big to give away. In the third attempt, she took an extremely little scrap of dough and rolled it flat. She had it as thin as a wafer, but was unable to part with that also. Can you imagine? She was not ready to give that also. This angered Saint Peter a lot, and he said that she was not fit to live in human form and enjoy food and warmth. So he cursed her and transformed her into a woodpecker bird who had to bore in hard dry wood to get its scanty food. She can be seen in the trees all day boring and boring for food. So that was there in this poetry. This is the whole poetry. Hope this poetry is clear to everyone. Students, very first stanza is here. It's written: away, away in the Northland where the hours of the day are few. Okay, away, away in the Northland where the hours of the day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. So students, in this paragraph it has been described that in the region around the North Pole, that is Northland, the duration of the day is very, very less. Got it? That the duration of the day is very, very less, because its position is such that the sun's rays reach for a very, very less time. Got it? That the duration of the day is very less because its position is such that the sun's rays reach for a very, very less time. And when this area is experiencing winter season, the duration of night is very long and the daytime hours are very less. In line 4, students, they refers to the people who live in this region. Okay, and the poet says that the duration of the night time is so long that the people cannot even sleep them through. Okay, if they go to bed, they take a few hours of sleep and then they wake up and it is still night time. He wants to emphasize on the fact that the duration of the night is very, very long. Hope it's clear to you. Now let's move on to the second stanza. It's written, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and the children look like bears' cubs in their funny furry cloths. Students, sledges meaning is a vehicle on runners for conveying loads or passengers over snow or ice, often pulled by draught animals. Okay, you must have seen in television also. Next, students, to harness means to tie the reindeers with a rope to a sledge so that it can be used for transportation. Okay, you must have seen in television in some Merry Christmas sort of cartoons where Santa Claus is there. You must have seen how he goes with the reindeers on a sledge. Students, swift word is used here. Swift meaning is something which runs very, very fast. Okay, so here in the stanza, students, it has been described that the Northland region experiences severe cold conditions. Yes, you are hearing me right. That it experiences severe cold conditions and it is a snowy area. Okay, the reindeer is an animal which is found in this polar region and people in the reindeers to sledges and the reindeers pull the sledges. He adds that the children look like young ones of a bear. Okay, because they wear funny looking cloths made of fur which is like the furry skin of a bear. Alright, this was there in the stanza. Let's move on to the next stanza. It's written, they tell them a curious story. I don't believe 'tis true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. Students, curious meaning is strange. Alright. So students, in this the poet is describing in line 1, they refers to the parents or elders and them refers to the children or the younger generation. Okay, the elders of the Northland region tell a very, very strange and interesting story to the younger generation, that the poet says that he doesn't think that the story is true, but if he tells the story to the reader, maybe the reader could learn a lesson from it, right? That is why the story gives an important message. Next paragraph, next stanza is here. Once, when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it preaching just as he did, Students, Saint Peter meaning is an apostle of Christ. Alright, a disciple or follower of Jesus Christ, you could say. Preaching meaning is to give a religious talk. Alright, students, it has been described here that the story is about Saint Peter when Saint Peter used to live in the world and went around. Alright, giving religious lectures to the people just like all saints do. Okay, and then an incident happened. What was the incident? Let's check out the next stanza. Next stanza, stanza number 5. It's written, he came to the door of a cottage in traveling around the earth where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. Students, hearth, H-E-A-R-T-H, hearth. What is hearth? Hearth is basically a fireplace where you do cooking. Okay, so it has been described here that when Saint Peter was moving around the world, giving religious lectures to the people, he reached the door of a cottage where a small woman was making cakes. Okay, she was baking the cakes in the fireplace. Okay, hope till here it's clear to you. Now let's move on to the next stanza, stanza number 6. It's written, and being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. Students, faint meaning is to be weak. Okay, famished, to be weak, very, very weak. When you're not having strength. Okay, you are weak. So students, it has been described that as Saint Peter had not eaten anything the entire day, he was very, very hungry. Yes, you're hearing me right. He was very hungry, he was starving and was feeling very, very weak. Yes, he was not having energy. Okay, so students, he went to this woman who was baking cakes and he asked for one cake out of the many cakes that she had baked. Okay, try to listen it properly and try to understand. In this poetry, there is a story that is being narrated. Here is a story that Saint Peter was very hungry. So he went to this woman who was baking cakes and he asked for one cake out of the many cakes that she had baked. Okay, let's check out what happens next. Let's see the stanza number 7. It's written, So she made a very little cake, but as its baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. So it has been described here that the woman was selfish. She was a selfish woman. She did not give cake from her store. Instead, she started making a very small cake for Saint Peter. Okay, she did not want to share her things, but when she put the cake for baking, she looked at it and thought that this cake was too big to be given to someone. See, she was such a greedy girl, greedy woman, I would say. All right, let's check out the next stanza. What happens next? Stanza number 8, it's written, therefore she needed another and still a smaller one, but it looked when she turned it over as large as the first had done. Needed meaning is to make dough from flour, right? Your mother also needs the dough, right, to make chapatis. So here she needed dough to make cake. So here it has been described that the little miser woman thought that the cake was too big to be given away. Okay, so she started making another smaller cake. Okay, she started making another smaller cake. When she looked at that cake, she again felt that it was as big as the previous one. Okay, so again she was not ready to give this smaller cake to Saint Peter. Okay, she was not ready to give that cake. See, let's check out what happens next. Stanza number 9, it's written, then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer, but she couldn't part with that. Scrap, students, meaning is small amount. Okay, she took a very small amount of dough to make cake. So it has been described that the third time she took a very small amount of dough and rolled it. And the poet says that she rolled and rolled to lay emphasis on the fact that she rolled the dough and made it very thin like a wafer and baked it. But she was so greedy, that she couldn't give that thin piece of bread to the saint. See, such a greedy lady she was that she couldn't even give that thin piece also of bread to that saint. Next stanza 10, it's written, for she said, my cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself are yet too large to give away. So she put them on the shelf. So students, it has been described here that the woman reasoned that when she ate the cakes, she felt that they were very small. But if she had to give them to someone, she felt that they were too big to be given away. Okay, so she put all the cakes on the shelf of her kitchen and she did not give any cake to Saint Peter. How much greedy she was. Let's check out the next stanza. It's written, then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Students, provoke meaning is cause to get angry. Alright, so students, Saint Peter became angry over here. He was very hungry, right? He was feeling very weak, and the selfish woman was not ready to give him even a small cake. Alright, so this behavior of the greedy woman angered the saint. Saint became very, very angry. Alright, let's check out what happens next. In the next 12 stanza, it's written, and he said, you are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. Alright, students, dwell meaning is to live. So it has been described as Saint Peter cursed the woman. Yes, you are hearing me right. Saint Peter cursed the woman, उसे श्राप दे दिया, and said that she was very selfish. Yes, she did not deserve to live like a human being. And he added that God had given her food, shelter, fire to keep warm, but she had been selfish for all the resources she had. She did not want to share them with anybody. Okay. In the next stanza, it's written, now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard, dry wood. So students, scanty word I could see here. Scanty meaning is very little, in a very less amount. Okay. Boring word is used here. It's not that boring, beta, that you feel, I'm feeling very boring right now. It's not that boring. Its meaning is, boring meaning is make a hole in something with a tool or by digging it. किसी चीज में hole करना. Okay. So students, it has been described here that Saint Peter cursed the woman. Okay. That hence she would become a bird because she did not deserve the human form. Alright, she shall become a bird, and just like birds build their houses by boring into the wood and collect very little food by working hard the entire day. Similarly, she would also work hard in the dry wood all day and get little food and make a small place for herself to live in. All right, hope it's clear to you. Now let's move on to the next stanza, stanza 14. It's written, then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. So students, it has been described here that as soon as Saint Peter cursed the woman, she did not get a chance to speak for herself, because that very moment she flew up to the roof through the chimney and flew out in the form of a bird. Saint Peter's curse had converted the woman into a bird. Alright, let's move on to the next one. It's written, she had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same. But all the rest of her clothes were burned, black as a coal in the flame. Students, scarlet meaning is brilliant red color. Alright. So it has been described here that when the woman turned into a bird, at that time she was wearing a red colored cap on her head. Okay, and this cap was there on the bird's head also, but the woman's remaining clothes had burned and turned black in color, just like coal. Okay, let's check out stanza 16. It's written, and every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. Students, country meaning here is belonging to the countryside, that is rural areas. Okay, so it has been described here that people who live in the countryside, even the small children who go to school, seen this kind of bird in the woods. Okay, they see that she stays there all day and keeps on digging the wood with her beak, yes, to collect her food. Okay, and whenever any child sees this kind of bird, then his elders tell him this story. They say that the bird used to be a woman earlier. Yes, she was very greedy, and so she was cursed by Saint Peter and turned into a bird. Okay, they get a teaching also that they should not be greedy. Here your poetry ends. But now I will be telling you the literary devices that has been used in this poetry. Students, the very first one is rhyming scheme. Students, you all must be knowing what is rhyming scheme. I have taught you. Whenever poets are using rhythm in the poetry, a musical effect in the poetry, then your poetic device rhyming scheme is used, right? You all must be knowing what for this poetic devices are used. Poetic devices are used to enhance your poetry, to make it more fascinating, right? So the rhyming scheme is ABCB. So for this you have to check the last word of every line. The very first line, last word is Northland. So we will mark it A. Alright. Second line, last word is few. So we will mark it B, because Northland and few is both are not rhyming with each other. Okay. Let's check out the next word. Third line, last word is winter. So it is also not rhyming with any of them. So we will mark it C. Last word of fourth line, it's through. So through is rhyming with few. So we will mark it B. So like this, your rhyming scheme is A, B, C, B. Hope it is clear to you. Next poetic device, students, I could see is alliteration. What is alliteration? It is the repetition of a consonant sound in two or more close words, right? Students, see stanza number 1. That, they, them, through. Here TH sound is repeating, right? You all could see this in stanza 1, that, they, them, through. So TH sound is repeating. In stanzas 2, they, the. So TH sound is repeating here also. Look like, L sound is repeating. Funny, fury, F sound is repeating. In stanza 3, they, them, TH sound is repeating. Yet you, Y sound is repeating. Learn lesson, L sound is repeating. Tell, tale, to, T sound is repeating. In stanza 5, woman was, W sound is repeating. Them, the, her, TH sound is repeating. In stanza 6, faint, fasting, F sound is repeating. In stanza 8, still smaller, S sound is repeating. In stanza 9, took tiny, T sound is repeating. In stanza 10, seem small, S sound is repeating. In stanza 13, build birds, B sound is repeating. Buy, boring, boring, right? B sound is repeating. So like this, we could see that the poetic device alliteration has been used here, right? Next poetic device is beta repetition. Yes. What is repetition? Any word or sentence that is repeated, right, to lay emphasis on it, that is called repetition. So in stanza 1, you could see away word is repeated. In stanza 9, rolled word is repeated. In stanza 13 and 16, boring word is repeated. Alright. Next poetic device is enjambment. What is enjambment? Students, enjambment is that running lines of poetry from one to the next without using any kind of punctuations to indicate a stop. Okay, no punctuation mark is used. So you could see in stanza number 1, line number 3 and line number 4, right? In line number 3, no punctuation mark is there. It is continuing in line number 4 also. After through there is, right? So they are continuing. So enjambment is here. In stanza 2 also, line number 1 and 2 and line number 3 and 4. In stanza 3, line number 3 and 4 you could see. In stanza 4, line number 1, 2 you could see. Line number 3 and 4 also you could see. In stanza 10 also, beta, line number 1, 2 and 3 are there. In stanza 11, line number 1 and 2 is there, where enjambment is there. Alright, hope it's clear to you. Next poetic device I could see is simile. What is simile? Students, it's a comparison, right? Direct comparison using as or like. Don't be confused between simile and metaphor. Metaphor is indirect comparison and simile is direct comparison. So comparison is there using as or like. So you could see stanza 2. The children look like bear's cubs. Right, bear's cubs. So children compared to bear's cubs. Here children has been compared to bear's cubs. That is why simile has been used. Stanza 9, you could see it is written, baked it thin as a wafer. Right, baked it thin as a wafer. So students, cake is compared to a wafer here. Alright, in stanza 15 you could see cloths were burned black as a coal. So students, here the color of the burned cloths is compared to that of coal. Right, that is why simile is there. Hope it's clear to all of you, all the poetic devices. These are the poetic devices that have been used in the poetry. So students, that's all from my side. Hope you all have understood this poetry very well. And if you have got any queries regarding anything, feel free to contact me personally as well. Alright, that's all from my side. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Stay home, stay safe, study well. Bye-bye, take care. Thank you very much.